Have you ever wondered why it's so hard for some people to say, "I'm sorry"? It's a question that puzzles many of us, especially when we see the damage that unspoken apologies can cause to relationships. Apologizing, though it seems simple, is a complex process. It's about acknowledging our mistakes, showing respect to the other person, and taking responsibility for our actions. However, there's often a resistance to admitting we're wrong. This resistance can be driven by various factors, including fear of appearing weak, fear of retaliation, fear of being seen as imperfect, and even sheer stubbornness. In this video, we'll delve into these 8 key reasons why people resist apologizing. We'll unpack each one, shedding light on why it's such a challenge for some to utter those 2 simple words. So why do some individuals struggle to utter the simple words, "I'm sorry"? Let's unravel this puzzle together. Firstly, many perceive apologies as a sign of weakness. This misconception runs rampant in a society that often equates admitting mistakes with vulnerability. It's as if saying "I'm sorry" suddenly strips away a layer of your armor, leaving you exposed and weak. Yet, this couldn't be further from the truth. Consider a scenario where a friend has unintentionally hurt your feelings. The friend who refuses to apologize might seem strong, unyielding, but the walls they've erected to protect themselves from vulnerability are thin and brittle. This facade of strength can strain the relationship, creating a chasm of unresolved issues and unspoken words. On the other hand, the friend who steps forward, swallows their pride, and admits their mistake, shows a strength of character that goes beyond mere appearances. They demonstrate respect for you and the relationship, reinforcing the bond rather than weakening it. But remember, true strength lies in taking responsibility for our actions. Secondly, there's the fear of retaliation. This fear often arises from the belief that admitting a mistake invites punishment or retribution. Picture this. You're playing a game of chess. You make a wrong move and you know it. But instead of admitting it, you choose to stay silent, hoping your opponent won't notice. You fear that admitting your mistake will give them an advantage, a chance to retaliate. This is a fear rooted in a lack of trust and a defensive mindset. In relationships, this fear can manifest in similar ways. An individual might avoid saying sorry, fearing that their admission will be used against them in future disagreements or conflicts. This avoidance can create a barrier, preventing open communication and fostering resentment. It's essential to remember that apologies aren't about winning or losing, but about understanding and empathy. Trust and vulnerability are the foundations of healthy relationships. Next, we have the fear of loss. This fear is an intriguing paradox, where the act of apologizing is seen as a potential trigger for pushing people away. But let's delve deeper. This fear stems from a misunderstanding of the true nature of apologies. An apology isn't a sign of weakness or an admission of defeat, but rather a bridge to understanding and connection. Imagine a scenario where a friend has been hurt by your actions. The fear of loss might convince you that apologizing would only make the situation worse, pushing your friend further away. However, in reality, an apology is more likely to mend the strained relationship, drawing your friend closer. In essence, our fear of loss often blinds us from the truth that apologies don't push people away. Instead, they serve as a tool for mending and strengthening bonds. So remember, apologies often bring people closer, not farther apart. Another resistance comes from the fear of imperfection. This is a fear that is familiar to many of us, yet it often goes unaddressed. Some individuals resist admitting their mistakes due to a fear of being seen as flawed. They worry that acknowledging their errors might feed into a notion of imperfection, affecting their self-esteem and relationships. Imagine a highly competitive work environment where every success is celebrated and every mistake is amplified. In such a scenario, the fear of being seen as imperfect can become a significant hindrance to owning up to one's errors. Another example could be in personal relationships, where one might fear that admitting a mistake could make them appear less desirable to their partner. But here's the thing, being human is about being imperfect. Our mistakes and our ability to learn from them are what make us unique and relatable. So it's important to understand that admitting a mistake isn't a sign of imperfection, but rather a sign of growth. Remember, we are all works in progress. There are also other factors contributing to the resistance to apologies. Firstly, let's talk about obliviousness. Some people simply don't realize they've made a mistake. This could be due to neurodiversity, where their brains process information differently. Or it might be a learned behavior, perhaps from growing up in an environment where self-awareness wasn't encouraged. Unfortunately, this lack of awareness can lead to repeated mistakes, straining relationships as others feel their feelings or boundaries are being disregarded. Next, consider stubbornness. This is where people know they've messed up, but refuse to apologize out of principle. It's a blend of the fears we've already discussed: fear of appearing weak, fear of retaliation, fear of loss, and fear of imperfection. This stubbornness can be a significant barrier to reconciliation and may leave others feeling frustrated and unvalued. Then, we have the desire for chaos. This is often seen in individuals with manipulative tendencies, such as narcissists. These individuals may intentionally avoid apologies to create tension or control situations. This refusal to apologize can be incredibly damaging, creating a toxic environment that erodes trust and respect. Finally, there's the resistance to going first. In situations where both parties share blame, there's often a standoff, with each person waiting for the other to apologize first. This reluctance can prolong conflict and hinder the healing process. Understanding these factors can help us navigate our relationships better. For instance, if we recognize obliviousness in ourselves or others, we can work on fostering greater self-awareness. If stubbornness is the issue, we can challenge our fears and learn to see apologies as a sign of strength, not weakness. If we encounter a desire for chaos, we may need to set boundaries or seek professional help. And if we find ourselves resistant to going first, we can remind ourselves that reconciliation often requires taking the first step, even when it's hard. Remember, apologies aren't just about saying "I'm sorry." They're about acknowledging our mistakes, showing respect for others' feelings, and taking steps to repair the harm we've caused. It's not always easy, but it's a crucial part of maintaining healthy, respectful relationships. Understanding these factors can help us navigate our relationships better. Let's not forget about coping mechanisms and emotional defense. It's important to understand that sometimes the reluctance to apologize is not just about pride or stubbornness. Often it's a way for individuals to manage negative emotions and avoid feeling vulnerable. This is rooted in unhealthy coping mechanisms developed over time. For instance, someone might have learned in childhood that admitting a mistake leads to punishment or ridicule. As a result, they've grown accustomed to deflecting blame or denying any wrongdoing to protect themselves. This sort of emotional armor might shield them from immediate discomfort, but it hampers their ability to form genuine connections and grow as individuals. On the other hand, healthy coping mechanisms involve acknowledging our shortcomings, accepting responsibility, and learning from our mistakes. This not only helps us grow, but also fosters trust and understanding in our relationships. Healthy coping mechanisms involve admitting our mistakes and learning from them. So, what's the impact of all this on our relationships? When we resist apologizing, it can lead to a breakdown in trust. Imagine a friendship where one party continually makes mistakes but never admits them. Over time, this erodes trust, creating a chasm of misunderstanding and resentment. On the other hand, consider a relationship where mistakes are acknowledged and apologies are offered. This act of vulnerability fosters trust, respect, and empathy, forming a robust bond that can weather life's many challenges. Think of a sincere apology as a bridge. It spans the gap created by a mistake, allowing for a safe passage to healing and understanding. When we apologize, we're not just saying we're sorry, we're saying we value the relationship more than our ego. We're saying we're human, flawed, and still worthy of love and acceptance. Let's not forget the power of these 3 simple words. I am sorry. A sincere apology can rebuild trust and deepen connections. In conclusion, overcoming the resistance to apologies is a journey of self-awareness and growth. We've delved into the complexities of this resistance, unraveling the fears that often hold us back: fear of appearing weak, fear of retaliation, fear of loss, and fear of imperfection. We've also touched on the roles of obliviousness, stubbornness, and a resistance to going first in this intricate dance of apologies. We've explored how unhealthy coping mechanisms and emotional defenses can further complicate our willingness to say, "I'm sorry." And we've underscored the impact of this resistance on our relationships, reminding us that an apology can be a bridge to trust and connection. Now it's over to you. Reflect on your own experiences, your own fears, and your own resistance. Consider the power of empathy and understanding in overcoming these obstacles. Remember, "I'm sorry" are not just words. They are a commitment to learn, grow, and strengthen relationships.